Welcome to the Payment Shed podcast, the weekly podcast that dives into the big topics, trends, and people shaping the worlds of payments, fintech, and business leadership, with your two co-hosts, myself, Grant Evans, and Justin Hanna. Welcome to another episode of the Payment Shed podcast. Today we are joined by Omar Ebeid, CEO and co-founder of Zeal. Omar, welcome to the Payment Shed.
Thank you, Grant, and thank you, Justin, for having me. Super excited for this one.
Well, we're excited to have you on. And we always ask, I guess, before we kind of get into it, just for a little bit of history on yourself, your career in financial services, payments, whatever it might be. Can you just tell us a little bit about that?
I was very naive getting into financial services. I wouldn't change anything about it, but definitely, and I don't see myself doing anything else for the rest of my life. So I'm very, very lucky I got myself into financial services. Graduated school from Egypt, moved to the UK in 2012, been in the UK since. Worked as a mechanical engineer, and then at some point I was selling energy door to door with one of the entrepreneurs I met at a Wolf of Wall Street event. And at that time I was due to go to work for Rolls-Royce Aviation. Met with Alex Hall, asked me to go and work with him, live with him and his family. Super inspiring story, so I decided actually to go with him. And he had one of his businesses was an energy business, and we were selling. I was selling door-to-door energy to merchants. I was learning so much, literally, just on again approaching merchants, what to sell to them, and selling a commodity. And then at some point, when I went back to university to do my master's, etc., in entrepreneurship at University of Bath, I came across a loyalty app. And I hate loyalty programs. I'm buying that coffee, and the lady, the cashier was like, "Oh, do you have our loyalty app?" I was like, "No, I don't use loyalty programs." She's like, "Oh, it's very easy. It's just a QR code on a loyalty app." I was like, "Fair enough." Downloaded it, and I saw that this app consolidated all the loyalty programs on one platform. I was like, oh, interesting that it doesn't take a genius to think of that instead of carrying like hundreds of loyalty cards. And I reached out to the founder. It's Yo-Yo Wallet, Michael Rolfe. I reached out to the founder of Yo-Yo Wallet, and I asked him to mentor me, etc., to build the same thing for the Middle East. We ended up doing it, and eventually I found out that the only way the merchants were knowing who their customers were was via the loyalty app. The card machine does not tell them who the customer is. So I would have thought the card machine tells you who the customer is, but you still need a loyalty app separately. And as soon as I found that out, I was like, whoa, there's a much bigger problem to solve for. It's not loyalty. And so we ended up putting that business aside, pivoted, and doing what we did.
Zeal was born.
Zeal was born, yeah.
Very, very good.
And I suppose as part of that, just to unpack that a little bit more, what do you think then kind of is the challenge that the whole industry is recognising as the minute you said there around they didn't know who their customer was?
Let me give you an example. Imagine, put yourself in a merchant's shoe, right? You own a coffee shop. People come drink coffee at your store, and you have no idea who your customers are. The only way you understand who your customer is just by recognizing their face. You don't know my name, you don't know anything. One of the most annoying things that happened to me, I absolutely hate it, is with all the different restaurants we go to, some particular restaurants I particularly like, and if I call them by phone, they don't know who I am. They don't know they're speaking to one of their very loyal customers, because that phone number is not linked to a CRM that they've got. And because the card machine, when I tap my card, the card machine doesn't tell them this is Omar, who's one of your very loyal customers, right? So that's the thing with physical retail or restaurants. You don't know your customers. You're not able to recognize them on the phone, make exceptions for them on bookings. That's particularly important for bookings. Hence, OpenTable solves that problem particularly. But if you think about it as, again, as a merchant, you need to know who your customers are to be able to retain them, reach out to them if they don't show up in 2-3 weeks, send them a free coffee to get them back. But the challenge has always been for loyalty programs in the conversion. So let's assume, again, you're a coffee shop. you have 100 customers coming into your store, you'll only be able to convert 20% of them to use your loyalty program. So you still don't know the 80% of the customers that aren't using the loyalty program. And that's where I'd like to say that's where we come in. Because we run silently in the background of the terminal. We identify 100% of the customers, and it's our opt-in rates is around 86%. So I think it's a game changer in the experience, not even for payments. It's just the actual checkout experience. Yeah.
And you guys work quite prevalently with acquirers in the payments ecosystem. There'll be ISOs in that market. And with the ISO landscape, we've traditionally seen this real race to the bottom. It's all about price. It's all about margins, and maybe not thinking about some of the value-added service type products that can be wrapped around that go-to-market strategy, particularly in hospitality and retail, those sort of environments. So why do you think it's been so difficult for ISOs to differentiate meaningfully kind of beyond rates and terminals and basic services and thinking about things like loyalty historically?
I wish I could tell you the answer. I wish I could be there with the chief strategy officer and the strategy teams of the big acquirers. Payment companies sell payments. Like that's their bread and butter. They're not marketing companies. They're not data companies. They're not like this. And you cannot expect them to sell anything other. You won't expect a bank to do anything other than banking services. And do you get what I mean? So and that's where partnerships come into play. That's where integrations come into play. For payment acquirers, when we go speak to payment acquirers, and we've had some tell us, oh, it's in our roadmap, we'll build our own XYZ value add service. But it takes them super long. It's a ship. It's like a large ship in the sea. It takes them ages to do anything or build anything, etc. And they need to A/B test a lot of what we've done or go through a lot of the developments. It's way easier to partner with a startup or a scale-up that just you plug in an API or something and then you avail the technology. So I think to expect payment acquirers to develop loyalty or value-added services is, I would say, a bit unfair for them, for the structure of their corporates. And that's where they need the new value-add services.
I suppose you're asking them to do something they don't know, right? So why is that ever going to work? And look, we talk about payments as a bit of a commoditized market. The way that they can try to improve is by partnering with businesses that are experts in what they do.
Absolutely. By the way, like again, and for us, we cannot work without acquirers. Like we cannot go to market without acquirers and without ISOs. And the ISOs are rarely software developers themselves. They're just reselling what the acquirer is giving them and making money off the rates, right? So we need these partners in our value chain to succeed. We go to market via them. So they do play a huge role. They have access to hundreds, if not thousands of merchants. And we just plug into that. And we avail ourselves across their terminals and everyone's happy. So that's how I like to frame it. Like we're that extra layer on top of your current merchant or PSP.
Would that have been possible without the transition to kind of Android terminals and open source?
I was thinking whether that should be on my shelf of shame but I decided not. But that was going to be one of the things I recommend. Linux terminals and Android terminals makes it a lot easier to put anything on top of it. I remember when I first started and we were building Zeal and I was selling, again, investors, we're going to put something on the card machine. Everyone's like, this is a super secure device. You cannot put anything on it at XYZ. And that's what you feel when you look at a Linux device, right? But now with Android, I think that's changing the game completely. I'm super excited again for the growth of Android devices globally, because you start integrating with the payment software on the Android device, you avail yourself to all the different payment providers.
It's crazy when you think about it as well, though, isn't it? Because it's the most interacted piece of
absolutely right.
Like interacted with piece of kit out there, right? The customer is always engaged with that device, so you want that to be your sort of non-black box, right? That is the most data-rich piece of hardware you could probably access, right?
Grant, I'll give you a crazy example. you go online, you buy something online on e-commerce, and you put your name, your email, your address, you check out. Yesterday, I was setting up one of those new agentic AI browsers, and I uploaded obviously my cards securely to my Google wallet, etc. Linked it to my passkey. So again, I want everything to be super seamless. And then I started testing with agentic AI, go purchase XYZ for me, etc. Incredible. Now compare that to an in-store experience. You go in-store, you tap your card, you leave the store, the merchant has no idea who you are. They don't know if you're a new customer or unless you have a separate loyalty program and you have to do a separate step on top of that.
Scan a QR code on your app, Starbucks or something like that.
It's ridiculous. We're talking about, again, that age of AI, agentic AI, and we're still expecting customers to do a separate step to get a loyalty stamp.
Do we think that merchants and businesses should be using loyalty as more of a marketing ploy or marketing as part of a loyalty ploy?
So merchants have to, so I'll tell you our findings. I'll answer that with a bit of some data or what we've seen in the market. Merchants will use loyalty if it's free of charge and until they see an ROI from it. But they will not be willing to pay for loyalty upfront. And that's what we've seen. And there are so many different loyalty providers out there, and very successful ones. You've got Magic Stamp, Embargo, all of these different players in the market. But I'll challenge something here, and Zeal included. How many billion-dollar loyalty apps are out there? I would almost say zero. None. And it's not a coincidence, right? And it's because, again, going to my point of loyalty actually does not sell in terms of pay upfront SaaS fee to retain your customers. No, I want to retain my customers first. As a merchant, I want to be able to extract the data to get them back, and then I'll give you money once I hit a certain threshold. And hence we go to ISOs, we give them the value add service for free. We don't make any money actually until the merchant reaches a certain credit limit, and then they see certain value, and then they start paying. So, and that's something we've seen, again, going to market with merchants and the ISOs, we've priced it like that to scale. Like our main way to monetize the data behind the loyalty is then when we go to FMCGs, like for example, the likes of Coca-Cola, and they start running rewards when you buy Coca-Cola in store at Supermarket X. Because again, going back to what we were just saying, you go to a supermarket, you pay on the terminal, you leave. Not only does the supermarket not know who you are, Coca-Cola has no idea who just bought that Coca-Cola. Yeah. So it's a gold mine. It's an untapped gold mine of data that, again, back to your question, no one has unlocked. And I think no one has unlocked because of previously Linux terminals made it super hard to unlock. Visa, MasterCard don't have access to this data. They don't know what you've bought in store because they're not linked to all the different cashier softwares, Oracle, EPOS Now.
It's just kind of crazy when you say it out loud as well, right? Yeah. You'd expect at this point, 2026 now, that you'd have that. I mean, loyalty for me it drives me up the wall, to be honest. I was in a coffee shop this morning. They've gone from a stamp card to putting your name on the wall, like your card, like you had your name and then they had your physical card and it was stuck on blue tack, and you'd be like, yeah, that's me with a full card, I'll have his free coffee. Like it was. And now today they've got it looked like a staff chip card, and a lady in front of me in the coffee shop and the train station just tapped her phone on this. I don't know what the brand was, I didn't manage to catch it, but the guy behind the thing said, oh, you've got that, and then she like tapped her phone on it and she had her app open, some points went on. I say there's so many different things. I mean, Nige from EIT put physical loyalty cards on his shelf of shame, right? And I couldn't agree more. Like Hotel Chocolat, bought some stuff there at Christmas, still using a paper. Here, have you got our loyalty card? No, here's a piece of like a little cardboard thing. Crazy. My barber has a hard one. I'm like, why are you all still using this? There's so many platforms out there that can digitize this journey. If you digitize it, I'll have it in my wallet. There's no.
I think that comes back to investing in it, right? Which is, and the way you've explained it, I mean, is absolutely perfect. Why are they not doing it? I think people are not seeing an immediate ROI, or they've not seen it anywhere, and they don't want to be the first to have tried to do it.
Mm-hmm. You know who's doing it well? Square. They just launched an update recently to their terminals, where when you tap your card on the Square terminal, it writes back using NFC. It pops up on your Apple Wallet or Google Wallet, saying opt into that loyalty program. Super seamless.
That's cool.
But what are the acquirers going to do to compete with Square?
Yeah.
What's their strategy? Who are they plugging in? What's the data they're collecting behind that? Square is a fintech. What are the ISOs going to do to be able to compete with Square and all the different fintechs? They're losing a lot of merchants to all these new fintechs. So, and again, they need value-add services. Success for us at Zeal is going to be when we net zero the expenses or the commissions that the merchant has to pay through the acquirer.
Yes.
We're adding so much value to the transaction, getting them new revenue streams to the merchant that it's almost netting zero to their payment fees.
And it becomes a pay-as-you-go product, right? Because you're only paying when your customers are paying.
And can the acquirers and the ISOs kind of pivot this to be an enablement tool for their sales team? Because we've talked about that race to the bottom and the pricing. It's all about price. If you're adding in a loyalty product that's seamless and you can actually start to talk in a language to merchants around, okay, well, what if the loyalty program drives a 5% upside? Or, it's getting away from that rate-based, how much do your card payments cost? It's like, okay, we're not just doing payments, we're doing loyalty as well now. And by the way, here's a similar business we've done this for, and these are the results we've seen, right? And that's the data you talk about, and you can back it up and evidence it.
100%. And again, merchants, when it comes to payments, they look at it as a pure commodity. And for them, if you remember what was happening with Dojo and they were hyperscaling, when Steve Jason was leading that, merchants wanted the white terminal.
Yeah.
The white terminal with the good rates. That's what they were looking at, right? So, sorry, I forgot. Sorry, you were making a point.
I was talking about how they use it as an enablement tool. So, if you're rolling out with Zeal and alongside an acquirer and ISO, and it's like, okay, well, we don't just do a card terminal. We've got your nice white PAX terminal. We've got a nice EPOS setup. That's the hardware. That's the rate element. What's your message to them around? Okay, this is how you also market loyalty alongside
Absolutely.
that.
So, again, think of, if I go back to when I was selling energy and going door to door to merchants, if I was selling payments back then and I had that payment device, today, without Zeal, if that device doesn't have Zeal on it, I just go open the conversation with what's your payments rates, what's your energy rates, how much are you paying kilowatt hour, how much is Dojo giving you? Oh, I'll give you a much better rate. That's normally how it's like, right? Now, if I have Zeal on the payment device, it's more of this terminal can have your loyalty program on it. You can do marketing on it. You can link it to Instagram. You can run ads on it. Coca-Cola will give you funding on it, and it also does payments. So you're selling value, and then obviously, like anyone that looks at a card machine knows it processes payments. Mm-hmm. There's a psychological bit that we need to get past, that you recognize what you look at.
Is it headless for the merchants as well, so they can create their own brand for the loyalty program?
Yeah. So again, we want to sit in the background. So the bigger vision for Zeal is to build an infrastructure data layer for offline transactions.
It's the rails.
It's the rails. Perfect. I love it. We're literally building the data rails for offline payments. Again, because if you think about it, Visa, MasterCard built the payment rails. No one has built the data rails. No one knows what coffee you drank at this coffee shop, what you paid with. All of this data is lost.
Today's episode is sponsored by ISX Financial. Most growing businesses end up stitching together multiple providers to run their payments and banking, leaving them exposed to cash flow, reconciliation, and even security issues. ISX Financial delivers a unified ecosystem with multi-currency accounts, online payments, real-time UK and EU transfers, and global mass payouts. Within that platform, Paid By provides pay by bank with real-time settlement notifications, automated reconciliation, and integrated refund management. One partner, one integration, helping your business transact with confidence. You can learn more at isx.financial. That's isx.financial. And a big thank you to the team at ISX for supporting the show.
It sounds like you want payments to be a byproduct of a terminal.
Absolutely.
As opposed to most merchants see the terminal as the only way to take a payment.
Absolutely.
But then that comment around the white device makes me laugh, because when I worked for Allied Irish Bank many moons ago, I had one of the first Clover devices in the boot of my car. Literally, like, we were the guinea pigs, because obviously part of that Fiserv ecosystem. So AIB Merchant Services, we were all given like Clover devices. They had one app that worked. Literally, it was like we demoed it, and there were like 50 apps on there, but 49 of them only worked in the US. But we go out and people be like, you go to a dentist and be like, oh, that would look great on the desk. How much is it? 1,500 quid. And they would buy it because it looked pretty. So it was way more than anything else they'd ever had payments-wise. But it would look really nice. It looked like it came out of the Apple store. And they just weren't caring that all it could really do was orphan refund at that time, right?
Man, if you think of it again, you guys finding this amazing place to host us, you didn't look for the cheapest place. When you go look for software for your business, you don't look for the cheapest software. You look for a good software that you'll get good value from at a good price. This is exactly how ISOs need to think. They need to stop selling cheap, and they need to be selling more of, this is the value we're going to add to your business.
Most ISOs will say that's what they're doing, right? Most ISOs say it's not about the money for us. It's not about giving the cheapest rate. It's about really caring for our customers. But what we also know is that the acquirers are giving them ISOs more than what they've ever given them in the past to try and get more accounts set up. So it's being driven by sometimes the acquirers to the ISOs themselves, right?
Of course. It has to be led by the acquirers. Whatever the acquirer will give the ISO is what the ISO will end up selling.
Yeah.
If WorldPay doesn't activate us, for example, on their terminals, the ISOs won't be able to sell us on their WorldPay accounts.
Yeah.
So it's always led by and that's where we come in as well with WorldPay and all the different acquirers. We need to make sure we work with all the acquirers. But absolutely, I completely agree with you.
And then if we look at your kind of product approach to loyalty and value-added services, those kind of VAS products we talked about, and we're, from a listener point of view, can you explain how the platform works within the payment stack? So I'm Grant, I go and buy my coffee. At what point am I engaging with Zeal in that journey? And when that coffee shop has built a Zeal app, like, what are they benefiting from? How are they building out that headless product to interact with me as a regular coffee shop user in that venue, right?
Excellent. So in some instances, you might not even recognize as a customer that there's Zeal on the terminal. So we're just running literally silently in the background, just analyzing all the transactions and telling the merchant this is a new or returning customer. Literally just as simple as that. And you'd be surprised, I'm sure you know, a lot of the acquirers still don't analyze that for a lot of the merchants. Merchants want to know how many new and returning customers they've got. Now, ISOs can brand Zeal and they can white label Zeal to themselves. So again, that's another reason why you might never see our brand name. But ultimately, the experience on the terminal is you go to a store, you pay on the device, and normally what happens on the payment stack, right before that transaction goes to the host to get processed, that token comes to us and we get asked, what do we do with it? And then we say, yes, this is a registered customer, registered in the loyalty program of that merchant, give them a stamp, a second stamp or a third stamp. Or it's not a registered customer. Or they're due a £2 reward on their £5 transaction. So everything happens on the actual terminal. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to install as a customer. It's super seamless, super frictionless. So again, you tap your card, transaction will go through. You'll then either be prompted to sign up to the loyalty program if you're not a member on the terminal. That sign up could be literally just opt in, just a click of a button, or you get your second stamp or third stamp. Now at redemption, again, when you come to redeem a coffee or a discount, you tap your card on the terminal for let's say a £10 transaction, and then it says, oh, you're due. The actual terminal will say you have a £2 discount. Do you want to redeem it? Yes.
So you're talking to the terminal real time.
It's everything
changing
is
the actual,
instant on the terminal.
Love that.
Yes, I want to redeem. Tap your card again to pay £8, and then that transaction goes to the host to be processed. So everything is seamless. Now, there is a huge project we're working on, which I think is going to be revolutionary in payments. We haven't talked about yet at all on any of other platforms. But we're having third-party super large conglomerates fund campaigns and rewards on the terminal. So you might go buy something from a supermarket, and then you get a reward from, again, let's say Coca-Cola, saying you've got £5 off, or you've got a free Coca-Cola, and that's funded by Coca-Cola.
But that's to spend at a certain venue?
No, it's right there and then for that specific transaction.
Okay.
I suppose it's quite interesting because what you want to be able to do if you're a merchant, you're not going to know that Grant hasn't come in for 3 weeks and got a coffee unless you were the person serving him. So how can you as a merchant, like you do in the e-com world, is I get texts from e-com providers, hey Justin, we've seen you looking at this jumper, or hey, you've not been here for a while, here's £5 off. You want to be able to do it in the face-to-face world, right? Say, hey, great, you've not ordered your flat white with extra milk for 3 weeks now, have one on us. And right now that as a coffee shop's not been able to recognize that they've not seen you in a long time.
Yeah, and on e-commerce, you've got website cookies. They analyze your IP.
You know the customer's inside out, right?
Literally. So how can you do that on terminals?
Yeah.
How can you help the merchant? Because again, it's there's e-commerce, retail and physical retail. The physical retail is completely forgotten. They've been sold payments without any innovative value-add services. That's honestly my humble opinion.
What's the biggest challenge for businesses not wanting to do this?
When you say do this as in roll out Zeal, or do this as in identify their customer?
To roll out Zeal themselves. Well, is it because they don't know it's there?
Our biggest, like, genuinely speaking, when we're speaking to any of the payment companies, we're very lucky that we have very successful rates of closing deals with the payment companies and with the merchants. I think I would say the biggest challenge for us in closing a merchant, and again, keep in mind, we don't really deal with the merchants ourselves. It's always the ISO that upsells it or activates it. But it's raising the awareness for the merchant that there's that tool on the terminal.
Yeah. So you're relying in somewhat in someone else's sales team to deliver the upsell as well.
So we've built a complete new platform and a marketplace for ISOs, so that ISOs can track how much money their merchants are making. For the first time, again, not all the acquirers say that real time to their ISOs, right? They can track a lot of the different metrics for their business, and they can upload the mids and push Zeal, because now we're natively integrated with a lot of the payment apps of the terminals. So they can push Zeal straight to the merchant without selling anything or having their salespeople upsell Zeal to the merchant.
Is there a next evolution for this when we think around in hospitality and to a degree in retail as well now, with unattended solutions and self-service? Is the next step you're going to go onto kiosk systems, because the terminal sat there, right? But actually, if you're popping stuff up on a big screen, like Itsu or whatever, right? I'm there, I'm saying, hey, you got a poke bowl free or whatever, and H&M, some of these other clothing retailers are doing self-checkout now. Again, you've got a great opportunity there where people are taking a little bit longer, mainly because they don't know what the hell they're doing the first time they get to one of these kiosks, particularly in retail. But you're capturing them on a bigger screen because the vessel's larger. You can put more stuff in front of them.
100%. On the unattended bit, have you seen any vending machine before with a loyalty program?
Don't think so, no.
No.
And why not? Because you need the cashier normally to be there to opt you in as a customer or something. And that really excites me, because again, loyalty on vending machines, you'd be surprised how many returning customers go to the same vending machine because it's on their way to work or whatever it is, right? And again, it's our role as people in payments, or professionals in payments, to avail loyalty for vending machine providers within the payment stack. So I think that's something that super excites me because, again, for the first time, you can have loyalty within the payment device on a vending machine, and similarly at petrol stations. So petrol stations is another very big one for unattended or EV chargers and customer recognition, etc. That's what I'm saying. It's a huge untapped market.
I don't know why I didn't do it for years. The you know, when you pay for your fuel on the tap, I've started doing it literally in like the last 6 months. I should have been doing this for years. But then they're losing opportunity because they don't upsell me when I go into the physical environment where I'd probably grab a drink or whatever.
I always grab a chocolate bar when I
you've
go
got
and get
loyalty
fuel.
now. You could put it on there and say, hey, you come to this station, you've got a free chocolate bar. You go in and then you buy even more. I don't know.
Correct.
Yeah.
Get myself a free Twix every time I fill up the car.
And I guess then from a different loyalty model point of view, we've talked about lightweight loyalty through to kind of deeper engagement. How much should, let's focus on the ISO market because you've talked about that kind of being a really good delivery vessel for you guys. Well, how should ISOs think about what's right for their specific merchant base and how deep they go with loyalty?
Is it easier for an ISO to continue putting pressure on the sales team, growing their sales team and continuing to sell to merchants, or one, upsell to their existing merchant base and at the same time grow their merchant base? So in e-commerce world, we call that the LTV to CAC ratio. What's the lifetime value of the merchant and what's the customer acquisition cost? And the ISO has to think of the lifetime value of their merchant base and how long does that merchant stick with the ISO? How easy for the merchant is it to switch to another payment provider? And how can the ISO make it super hard for the merchant to switch? And this is where we come in. I'll give you an analogy there. You have a smartphone right now, and let's compare that smartphone to a payment device. And I come to you in a few years' time and I tell you, put your smartphone aside. I've got a 10 times better phone to give you with a much better camera, 10 times better, way faster, XYZ. And it's cheaper. So it's actually cheaper, but you won't be able to take your contacts with you. You have to build your contacts base from the start. Are you guys going to switch? Yes or no?
No.
So let's go to payments. As an ISO, I start building the merchant's customer database with that payment device. It's going to make it super hard for that merchant to switch to another payment provider because the data is now linked to that specific payment terminal. And this is where we come in. Again, all the tokens are now linked to that to that terminal ID with Zeal. So this is how merchants, again, need to think. It's not about giving the merchants the cheaper rates, etc. No, give them value add services that will actually make it super hard for them to switch.
Okay.
Increase the lifetime value by...
How does that work though when you guys are working with multiple acquirers? So you'd have to start again with Zeal. So I move from an Adyen to an Elevon or someone like that. I would have to start again, even though you would maybe be working with both of those acquirers.
Yeah, because at the time being as well, the tokens are different, right?
Yeah.
So we would get different tokens from the different acquirers. Unless obviously we get the par and then we were able to do more with it. But for
the par, that I keep getting asked again. The last 12 months, I've been asked about par data a lot because the power of that data
absolutely
is so powerful, right?
Absolutely.
Can you explain what it is and how that works?
Again, it's a token, the payment account reference, but it tokenizes the bank account number rather than the actual PAN. So as opposed to again, thanks to Apple, of course, and making our lives easier, when you tap your Apple Pay or when you tap your physical cards, we get two different tokens, but we get the same par. So, but not all the payment companies provide a par.
Yeah.
So that's if it's a payment company that provides a par, then it's a different story. But generally, what happens is, again, par is still in its very nascent stages in the industry.
We talk about data and stickiness and the kind of that long-term upside for businesses. Do you think ISOs will increasingly be valued on that engagement with data and merchant solutions, or is it just kind of that transaction volume?
I don't think they have an option. I don't think ISOs have an option but to eventually start selling value-add services and data. It's very similar to telecom. At some point, telecom mobile operators were selling minutes. That was the key thing. And then it's now a commodity. And they sell you data, they sell you value-added services, access to the internet, etc. It's the same exact thing. Payments will get to that point eventually. I don't know when, but I believe the sooner we can help ISOs to start selling more value, more data, the more we can help them generate more revenue per merchant, increase stickiness, and so on.
How do hardware providers feature in this ecosystem for you? Because obviously there's always, or that in recent years, there's been new entrants into the market from a terminal point of view. Obviously Android makes it slightly easier, I presume, but actually, you've got then various different unattended solution providers. EPOS is a minefield in its own right if you're going to do interactive stuff with the EPOS system. Like, how big a bearing does that have on your roadmap, if any?
Yeah, no, of course. So hardware manufacturers, acquirers, and ISOs are all super important for us. So the hardware manufacturers in some regions provide their own payment app that we have to integrate with. We're terminal agnostic. We work with any of the hardware manufacturers. And then in other regions, it's the acquirer or a certain software vendor that puts their software on the hardware's hardware. So we do need to integrate with all the different softwares for the major hardware players. We've done that now in North America, Europe, specifically UK and the rest of Europe, and some North African, Middle East countries. And again, for us, it's the ability to get the token from the payment app running on the hardware, whether it's an Ingenico, Castles, Pax, Fitian device, whatever it is. We need to get that token. So we work very closely with them. Again, it's in their best interest to integrate with value-add services, Zeal and others, because they want to be able to say our terminal is integrated with all these different value-add services. And my dream is to eventually, when the card machine is coming out of the factory of Ingenico or Castles or Pax, any of the big manufacturers, it has Zeal pre-installed. It's very similar to your iPhone. You buy it with some pre-installed apps on it. This is where we want to get to. It's a data layer. It's an infrastructure play. And you cannot, eventually what I would love to see is similar to how you cannot have payments without the schemes, without Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. I think hopefully eventually you will not be able to have offline payments without the value of data, which is Zeal, basically. That's how it is.
And when you look at different markets that you guys are obviously growing, and when you're looking to enter a different market, do you have to look really closely at how consumers actually engage with loyalty in those regions, and that maybe diversifies how the product is brought to market in different countries and regions?
We don't look at how consumers engage with loyalty to enter a region. We look more at cash versus card penetration. So again, if the majority of the transactions happening are cash transactions, we won't be able to add much value. We add value when it's a card transaction we're running on the terminal. So that's where the assessment really goes to.
And looking to the future, let's fast forward 5 years. Where would you want to hope the job that Zeal has done to look back on, say, success?
I'm thinking about, again, different regions we're looking at, but in 5 years' time, what keeps me going is just honestly inspiring the next generation of entrepreneurs. When we started with Zeal, we were told it's super hard. You're not going to be able to integrate with all these payment companies. They're super slow. You've got their roadmaps, etc. And I'm very lucky we stuck to it and we did it. So in 5 years' time, what would make us super successful is to see Zeal on more than 1 million terminals running, integrated with all the different EPOS companies, and building that data infrastructure. I think this is, and again, I think we're building a generational company, So I'm not looking at exiting this business or selling this business anytime soon. We've had some acquisition offers actually, but it doesn't make sense for me. I feel like my life revolves around this, and it's going to be a generational company, and AI makes it super, super, super exciting. I'll tell you something, if you don't mind as well. We're building an AI, two AI stunts here or features where a merchant can hire an AI manager. So they can hire, because again, we see all the data, we understand your transactions, new and returning customers, etc. And you can link that merchant dashboard, you can link your Instagram, you can link your social media as a merchant. So why don't you start hiring an agentic AI marketing manager, start hiring a finance manager that for £20 a month? So obviously there's a lot that we're going to be introducing to merchants using AI, using agentic AI. And this is where, again, if you look, going back to our question about payment acquirers are not going to be building an agentic AI manager. It's why? Because they're focused on payments, with all due respect to them. And that's where, and we need them as much as they need us. So
definitely.
What about the e-commerce landscape then? Is e-commerce a growth or breakout? Obviously, a lot of stuff you do is linked to the point of sale, but is there a natural transition to grow the e-com business as well?
There is a bit of a link to e-commerce in terms of omni-channel. So if a physical retail has also a e-commerce play, normally they don't see that they're the same customers transacting. So that's where we can analyze that same token and basically give the same loyalty points that you're collecting on e-commerce. It would be the same as in your physical retail.
You talked about that square pop-up on the phone, which is really cool. I presume that's something you guys could potentially look to build then as well.
Yeah, we're doing that with one of our partners as well, actually called Loyo in Netherlands. And you tap the... So again, actually one of the key things for us is the loyalty engine doesn't have to be ours. So we could be sitting on the payment terminal integrated with a third-party loyalty engine.
Okay.
So and think of an enterprise retailer. They're not going to change their loyalty and CRM, but what's extremely hard for them is to integrate that CRM and loyalty to their card machine. And the way for them to do that is if Zeal is on the card machine. So we're the API basically on the card machine to their third-party loyalty.
Loyalty scheme agnostic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It just feels like a really interesting space to me, because obviously we had the guys from Crowd on who are more like issuer-specific loyalty. You guys are very much dealing with the acquirers. Your mentor, as you described earlier, worked for a loyalty company and helped you to build what could be technically kind of a rival loyalty company in some ways. How big is the loyalty ecosystem? Does it need some sort of consolidation to provide? Because I talk about the coffee shop earlier, every week I see a different loyalty platform or a different solution. Like, it's very chock-a-block with different providers, right? Does it just need like a big cleanse and removal of some of these legacy players?
100%, man. I generally don't think loyalty on its own will create $1 billion company. It doesn't happen. But the data behind the loyalty, knowing how to monetize that, especially if you're able to increase the conversion from the 20% we were talking about to 100%, that's where the money is.
I think the nature of terminals changing slightly as well. Like, you've got a lot more hardware solutions that have a little screen on the back of the POS. So again, you've got an environment where you can present information. It's an advertising screen in essence.
It's never been used as that though, right?
Yeah, but if that pops up in front of me and says, hey, you've got a free croissant, you got your coffee's free on us this time because it's your 10th visit in a month, like, you're creating little journeys and experiences in that buying process that, again, are being remembered by the individuals coming back to these locations.
Absolutely. Honestly, and there are some other features outside of loyalty that we're working on, completely outside of loyalty, but it's all around value-add services on the terminal. Like, that literally split second of you having your eyes on the terminal to see whether that transaction has been approved or not. How can we add value to the ISO and the merchant there and then? And we're doing a lot on that as well. So our success is, can we add new revenue streams outside of the transaction fees on the payment terminal? And there are tons, literally, like, our forecasts, there are literally like millions and millions of dollars that could be made completely outside of the transaction.
I'd argue that you don't want staff anywhere near it as well. Like I'd be very much thinking then about the specific device that Loyalty is presenting on, because I talked about some of the stuff with tipping platforms lately where, you know, I've been in a bar and the staff member clicks no tip before handing me the terminal and giving me the choice to make that decision. They're just like, oh, I don't like tipping, you know, this annoys people. Like they're removing that choice for me. And the same could apply to Loyalty, right? You're relying on that staff member quite often to say, hey, do you have a Loyalty card? Do you want this hideous piece of cardboard that you're never going to bring back to the shop? Like that process needs removing altogether. And by having a slightly larger screen or device to present that on, I think that kind of removes that clunky step in the process.
Definitely. Now, Omar, before we wrap up, one of our favourite parts of the show, the shelf of shame. What's one thing in payments, fintech, or general that you'd like to banish forever?
Ironically, loyalty programs. Loyalty programs. Or loyalty programs that require a second step. Let's put it that way. Like I would wish everyone, like in the industry, all the best in terms of converting customers, but honestly, it does not work when you have to ask the customer to do a second step on top of the actual transaction.
What about the sign up process in its own right though? Like, do they always have to sign up for even a Zeal funded based program?
There's no sign up. Like with us, there's no sign up required on the terminal. It's just giving us the ability to see that token the second time and recognize it's a returning one.
So that stamp setup you talked about, the 10 stamps, me as the customer in the coffee shop, I've never signed up for anything. The system is just saying, we know it's you from your card pan and you've been here 10 times, the 10th one's on us.
Correct. But the merchant has to configure their loyalty program, of course, just once. But the customer doesn't have, the consumer doesn't have to do anything.
I mean, that's incredible for a consumer to be rewarded without having to do anything.
Nothing.
That is perfect UX, right? Because there's no UX.
And it's free for the merchant. Like you're helping the merchant return and retain the customer.
Yeah.
And you're telling them, I'll only make money when you see value off of that. So it's perfect. There's no need for signing up on a loyalty app, downloading X number of different loyalty, nothing. So I think...
Are they not agreeing to a certain amount though that they're going to give away? Like how do they... So they're configuring that though in the background. Like they're going to say, right, you know, this customer can only get one free coffee a month, or how does that work?
It's exactly similar to how they would set up their normal loyalty program, right? But the only thing is they're going to have... The opt-in rates is going to be way higher than on a loyalty program, a separate transaction.
I suppose sometimes when you get a loyalty card, you don't actually know that customer's even opted in.
Yeah.
Like you don't know it, right? You get a stamp, you don't know if you're going to see a customer ever again because you don't even know who they are.
Correct. So that's my vote. Do you guys agree?
Yeah. I like. There's a problem with loyalty schemes.
I think it needs unpacking a bit, because I like the loyalty. You know, like the favorite. I've talked about this again. The favorite bar I go to in Bath. You know, 10 pints, you get a free pint. My bar, it's always 10, isn't it? 10 haircuts, you get a free haircut.
I wouldn't know,
but like, yeah, but then, you know, it's the cards, it's the thing that get rid of the loyalty cards, but actually even the sign up, like if I'm prompted, I have to put my email address in to sign up. That can be a pain in the backside.
It's the customer journey of loyalty schemes, right?
Yeah, I think it is the journey, and you're removing that friction point because the customer's not having to do anything, but they're still benefiting.
Yeah.
And as long as they're being told they're benefiting, they feel like they're getting something out of that. That actual merchant, right?
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. Right. It's definitely going on there.
Amazing.
So where can people find out a little bit more about Zeal? How do they get in touch with you, your sales team, etc.?
Of course. So obviously we're on LinkedIn. So the whole team is there. Reach out to anyone from the team at Zeal. And our website is getzeal.io. The whole team is reachable. My email is o.ebeid@getzeal.io. So again, I like to speak to anyone, everyone, and I always like to take notes if there's anything for us to learn on how to improve the experience or new ideas that we can implement using the data we collect. I'm all ears.
CEOs keep giving their email addresses out on this podcast at the moment, which is great. Thanks for coming in. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.